going to do an oil change on a 2017 V7 Stone. You want to start by first just loosening the oil fill. And if you have a snazzy tool like our oil cap full tool, then it makes it a lot easier. So we'll loosen that up first. And then next we will drain the drain pan plug, which is a 17. And next we're going to remove the oil filter. Now again, yep. And next we're going to remove the valve cover to get access to the valves with valve lash. So first you'll pull the spark plug cover by those 4 small Allens. There's 2 top and there's the 2 on the bottom. And as you can see, the plug wire hides underneath, and we'll just pop the plug wire off and put it to the side as you see. And next up we'll pull the 3 main valve cover bolts. So, and left side, 3 valve cover bolts. Okay. So if you have one that has a little bit of miles on it, you're going to find that this is a little tough to get off. So if you can, just use a pry bar or screwdriver, and you'll see here, just, that's it. And then go ahead and remove it. And yeah, you can just kind of hang it to the side here. There you go. And that gives you access to the valves. And we're going to pull the other side first, and then we'll continue on. And then next we're going to pull the spark plugs on each side. So it is a standard 5/8 plug socket. Remove it, and then we'll do the other side. So in order to do this, we got to put a floor jack up underneath on the 2017 Plus, because they don't give you 2016, because they don't give you access to the front of the motor with the crank to spin it. So what you'll do is use a floor jack of some type and support the back part of the frame, the cross brace of the frame. And then you'll just want to turn and lift until the back tire is about a half inch off the ground, so you can spin it freely. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So in order to rotate the valves on this engine I mentioned, you just want to put it in 3rd gear. So it's just a combination of actually shifting the gear and spinning the tire until you get into 3rd. All right, once we're in 3rd gear, we're going to rotate the rear tire. Rotate the rear tire until we see the intake valve open. There you go, you see it opening and close top. So then from there, you want to use, people use a straw if you know what you're doing, and don't let it bind on the piston. You can just use anything like a screwdriver, and I don't know if you can see that, but we're bringing it up to top dead center. If it drops even a tiny bit, you've went too far. So you want this thing about as close to the very, very top as you can. You see it climbing? Still climbing, and we should start to see it drop in any minute. Dropped, and then back up just a little bit. Good. And then how you want to check and see on most motors that have had at least 1 service. I'm not sure if you can see this or not, but there is actually a little bit of movement in this, and you'll want to check both sides, which you can see. And again, I'm just grabbing the bottom of the rocker here. I'm going to find out what lash is actually on the bike now. So you can start with the spec as 0.004 or 0.10 millimeters, and we're just going to walk up through this until it feels like it binds a little bit. And if you push in, You can see some friction. I want to check in the next one up. So no go. So one back is 0.0007 or 0.17 millimeters. So that's intake, and then we'll do exhaust. No go on a 0.01 inches, so then it's 0.09 or a 0.22 millimeters is what it is now. So we're going to shoot for 0.005 intake and 0.007 exhaust. All right, so to do valve adjust, basically you want to loosen the adjuster bolt with an 11 millimeter.
It's a bit tight.
And then the little threaded adjuster on top there, I recommend just doing it with your fingers till you get the feel of the adjuster. So if you want to slide the feeler gauge in there, again, we're going to shoot for 0.005 or 0.12 millimeter. And you're going to rotate that adjuster until you get a little bit of friction on this, not much. And then you can double check to make sure it's right by seeing you should not be able to get a 0.06 in. And then the trick to this is leave it in and then tighten. Now these tend to tighten. These will tend to tighten the valve lash when you tighten, so you need to do your best to try and hold that adjuster still while you tighten it. Guzzi makes a fancy tool for this, but as you can see, just a nice pair of pliers or small adjustable wrench will do the job just fine. So, and then he's got it tight. We're gonna feel, there's a 5, looked like a nice perfect amount of friction, and a no-go on a 6. So that's about perfect. Watch your tension on when you tighten these lock nuts. You can over tighten them and it will break that adjuster. So, and those probably torque specs, but you'll develop a feel. Just make it just snug enough that you feel as though it won't loosen.
Yeah, do it.
All right, and then we'll do the same on the exhaust valve. And again, once the piston is at top dead center with the gap, that's where you want to do both of these. And again, it's very important that you do it on the intake or compression stroke, meaning the intake valve opens to top dead center. So we're shooting for 0.007. or 0.178 millimeters on the exhaust on this. For US spec, North America spec on this bike, Guzzi recommends a 0.004 intake and 0.006. As a good rule of thumb, in the past 30, 40 years, these engines tend to like a little looser valve adjustment. So we're gonna go a little, like I said, 0.001 millimeters looser on this. And again, you want to leave the valve, and we'll check the tension.
Maybe a bit loose. Yeah.
All right. So it's not uncommon either if you try and tighten and it's either too tight or too loose. So in this case, it was just a little too loose. So we're going to put the 0.007 inch back in. And again, you want to do that with your fingers so you get a good feel. It should be, again, just a little snug so you can move it. I can tell the way that 8 came out that it's going to be good. Good. Uncheck the 7s one more time. So we have the valves all done, and now we're just going to put the plugs back in. You can clean and inspect them. This bike has pretty low mileage, they're actually really good shape. So just put it back in. If you're reusing the same plugs, you watch, just spin it until it seats, meaning just touches. And nope, it's good. So let's put the spark plug back in. If you're reusing your spark plugs like we are on this one, because it's pretty low mileage, just spin it. It's tough to predict a torque setting on this, so you just want them snug. So spin it until it actually bottoms. You'll feel it get a little tight, and then on these plugs I'd say no more than about a 1/16 of a turn. So if you're watching that there, just until it's snug. Don't over tighten. Okay, and then we're just reinstalling the valve covers. You want to fish this back in first before you actually place them in. So there you go, perfect. Drop it down. Careful on the rubber sealing surfaces. These valve covers are pretty good. They have a reusable rubber cover, or rubber seal rather. And I'll try and get in there to show you. Yeah, that looks good. It's properly seated everywhere. And then we're just gonna put the 3 big bolts back in and button it up. And I won't bore you with the details on that one. We'll come back. All right, this is your oil filter door, and as you can see, whoever put this on last, this washer here has been over torqued, meaning you can see the impression of the hex head that went in it. So clearly this needs to be replaced. You might want to just check yours and be sure, and I'll do a comparison there. That's the same one from one to the next. So we're just going to put this in and then put the filter back in, and I'll be back with you in a second. Okay, so we're putting the new filter, pull it out. What you want to do just to make yourself life a little easier is just do a little dab, a little bit of oil on both of the rubber rings, both top and bottom, just to make life a little easier and make it seal better. There you go. And then it's best to just do this as a full assembly. There you go. And then you can show me the assembly. Show me the assembly together. And the whole door. I can't see your hand. There we go. That's about how it goes in. And then this top piece here goes up into the bottom of the engine. So there's a fitting that goes onto. So what you can do on this is just rub a little bit of oil actually inside too, like that. Just makes it go together a little easier. So, all right. And then with the bolt, then we'll just run it all the way up and in. There is 2 little fins on the front of that cover that should go straight forward. And I'll show you that when we're done. I'll let him tighten it up, and then I'll show you. Again, there's torque specs, but if you've wrenched even a little bit, you don't have to go too crazy. Just make it snug. Again, if you over tighten it, it will be you'll flatten that washer and possibly cause a leak. So just get it snug. Takes quite a few turns on this. Snug is watching me here. Just make it snug. Good. That's good. Perfect. And we clean the drain plug and just reinstall the drain plug. Again, inspect the crush washer. This one seemed to be okay. Yeah, that one's in good shape, so we can just put it back in. And again, there's torque specs on these, but if you've wrenched it all, just don't go too crazy. Just make it snug, or check the service manual for torque specs. And we're all set. All right, and then the oil fill is pretty simple. Having a fitted funnel, as you can see, is going to make life a lot easier. But on this, with a filter change, you can just go ahead and dump two quarts in straight, and then we'll run it and check it. Okay, and the final step for checking your oil level on your V7 III, using one of our oil tools that we have on our site. If you don't have one, or we recommend a wrench, do not do finger tight on this or it will come out and spray oil all over yourself. So anyway, nice loosen and remove. And what we recommend is threading it all the way in, and opposed to what the factory tells you to fill 2 quarts. If you see that first mark above the bottom of the stick. We consider that full. I'm not sure if you can tell or not, but that's right where ours is to set to that mark. If you go any higher, it'll just pump the oil into the airbox, and then you'll have a whole nother set of problems. So anyway, that's kind of does it, and we'll just put it back on for you. Put it back on, and again, use our tool to tighten just by hand, one finger, and you're all set. Hope you enjoyed.